So real quick, I want to walk through how I balance flash with continuous light. Now the light that I'm going to be using today is the Colbor W100. They sent this light to me to test out and actually was very excited to get this light because since I do a lot of video work, I have a lot of continuous lights. They're very useful. And so I love pocket lights because they're easy to travel with, they're small, they're lightweight. But the problem with the ones that I've had is that they haven't been that powerful. So I think the most powerful one that I had prior to this one was like 30 watts. The W100, as the name implies, is a 100 watt pocket light. And this thing is small. It's basically about the size of my hand and it's extremely lightweight. Now, of course, it's predominantly plastic and that is what is contributing to the lightweight. But in a product like this, lightweight is key. So I use continuous lights all the time and this light has been an amazing little light. Now, before I get into the demonstration of how I balance the two, I do quickly want to touch on why I would combine flash with continuous light in the first place, because one of the things that you may be thinking is, well, why wouldn't you just use another flash? Now, of course, I absolutely can do that, but I do actually choose to use continuous light. Now, the first reason is that what I just mentioned, the size and the weight of this makes it very easy to use. Now, even if you're talking a speed light, of course, speed lights aren't that heavy, but when you have a speed light, you have to have something to mount the speed light. So even if you're not going with a modifier, you still need to have either a bracket of some sort or some sort of holder to be able to attach that speed light to a light stand. So your setup is going to get bigger, it's going to get heavier, it's a lot more things that you have to carry around. So this is just easier to use. And because it's so lightweight, I can put this light wherever I want. I don't have to worry about weighting down a light stand or a boom arm. It's just nothing I ever have to think about. The thing is so small and lightweight that I literally can put it wherever I need it to be and it just works. But also with that, having the continuous light, it really serves two functions. Now, if I have a speed light, I can obviously use it as a speed light, but if I need continuous light for some reason, I don't have that. Whereas the continuous light can function as a speed light. It can give me fill light or be my key light, but also when I need continuous light, I have it. So it's kind of like having two in one. So it almost always makes sense to me to have this. Now, of course, depending upon how much light there is, 100 watt is a lot of power, but it's still not going to be able to contend with a ton of light. And so as you can see right now, I'm filming this during the middle of the day. So of course, I'm not going to be able to use something like this as a key light in this situation. So that's why I'm using it as fill. So it does have its limitations where a speed light may make sense. But if I can get away with using a continuous light, I'm going to use the continuous light 100% of the time. Now, the second reason why I'm going to opt for the continuous light is in situations when I am in a lower light situation, it's to help me get more color in the eye. Now, when you are in any type of low light situation, your pupils will dilate to allow more light into the eye so that you can see. But the problem with that is there's no color in the pupil. So as it dilates, you lose the color in the eye. By having that continuous light and having that hit the eye, just enough light to hit the eye, it constricts those pupils enough to be able to maximize the color that I'm going to get in the eye. And as photographers and videographers, we know that we like those eyes to pop and sparkle. And so by using continuous light in those low light situations, it's going to put just enough light in the eye to keep that color there and keep those eyes vibrant. So those are the two reasons why I would be in situations where I'm combining flash with continuous light. And so this is a dream to use because along with the light, I also have the battery grip. So I don't have to worry about plugging anything in. I literally can just hold it, or I can attach it to a light stand. I can attach it to a boom arm. I can attach it with super clamps. I mean, I can attach this thing with anything and it's easy. I don't have to worry about it. So this light has been wonderful. I've actually had this light for probably 2 or 3 months, and kind of the way that I function now, before I jump into this, I don't want to drag this out too long, but the way that I function now when companies send me products is I really try to use them for a bit of time first before I present them to you. Now, the companies don't necessarily love that because they do typically want their videos pretty quick, but I think it's only fair and only right and only ethical that I really run these things through their paces before I stand in front of you and say, yes, this is a great light, you should go and buy one. I want to make sure that I can say that and stand behind it. And so I've been using this light for the past 3 months. And so now I'm ready to present it to you and say, yes, this is a great light. This is the RGB version. They also have just a bicolor version. I typically will always try to get the RGB version anytime I get an LED light, simply because of the versatility. I always want to have as much functionality in my gear as I can possibly have. So Colbor W100R, great little light. But enough of that, let me show you how I'm going to balance the flash with the continuous light. The first thing I'm going to do is get my shot to look how I want it to look with the flash. Now, the reason why I start with the flash is because that's going to be the driver. If I have to start with the continuous light, then it's not going to be all that versatile, because if I have to work around the settings that I need for the continuous light to be enough, then I'm working backwards, and then I'm having to just do everything else wherever it has to fall for the continuous light to work. So I would rather have my flash how it needs to be, and I get my base image to look how it needs to look, and then I can bring the continuous light in to fill in those shadows as necessary. So first things first, let me get the shot with the flash. So we're gonna take this shot here. And so right there, that looks good. The background looks nice. The light on the subject is nice, but as you can see, there are definitely some shadows, and those shadows are a little bit deeper than what I would like. So now here's where we're going to bring in the continuous light. So as I mentioned, I have the grip for this light, the battery grip, so I'm able to just hold it in my hand. Now, when I'm doing fill light, I typically try to have my fill light come in the same direction as my key light. And the reason why I do that is because I don't want to eliminate the shadows, right? My key light was placed where it was placed for a reason. And so obviously there's gonna be shadow. I want to be able to sculpt the face, but I simply don't want those shadows to be as dark as they are. So generally I'm gonna have my fill coming in generally the same direction in general as the key. Now, of course here, my key is overhead, so I'm not gonna place this overhead as well. So I'm gonna place this more straight on, just to fill in those shadows just enough. Now, I also could come in from underneath the subject and do more like a clamshell lighting, but that's not really the look that I'm going for, so I'm not gonna do that, but that definitely is an option. So in this particular case, I'm just gonna hold it right here in line with the camera. I'm gonna try to do this holding the camera with one hand and bring this in. And if we take that shot and look at that, so now you can see those shadows are filled in just a little bit. I think I could go for having them filled in a little bit more. So I was at 10% power on this light right there. I'm going to take it up to 20% power and take another shot. And so right there, that's looking pretty good to me. So I still have a little bit of shadow. We're still sculpting out the chin area there. We still have the cheeks, still have the nice shadow and being sculpted out, but those shadows are not as deep. And so I'm at 20% power on this light. And so that is really all there is to it in terms of how I balance. I start with the flash and then I bring in the continuous light and fill as necessary. So it really is easy to do. But the thing is, you have to have a light that's got some power. So again, this was at 20% power. It's a 100 watt light. So that puts me somewhere around 20 watts, 30 watts, something like that. So some of the other pocket lights I had could have worked, but I'd be at 100% power. So I wouldn't really have any more room to increase that if I needed more power. So having a 100 watt light in this footprint to be able to just hold it like this, and I want to tell you, okay, I want to tell you, this thing is really bright. Now again, it's at 20%. If I take this up, so 20%, and I can't really see, so I don't know if I'm blinding the crap out of you right now or not. But if I take this all the way up to where I can go, so right now it's at 100%. And I mean, you know, boom, if I put that on me, I'm probably blown out. Probably can't even see me. I'm Ghost, I'm Casper right now. Very bright, very bright. So I have a lot of light in my hand to where I can light stuff. And when I'm in a low light situation, this just lights up an entire space, I shot a fashion show at Container Park a few weeks ago, and I used this, and I was able to light up the subject, and they were probably a good 20 feet away, and I think I maybe had this at like 20 or 30%. It was at nighttime, it was low light, but case in point, this thing really illuminated the whole space. And the little reflector and dome that comes with the light is very useful. It makes a big difference in spreading the light. I love this little thing. I didn't think it was gonna work as good as it works, but there is a big difference between having this on and not having it on. It works really well. So this is just a nice, handy little setup to be able to have light where you need to have it. I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite lights to use. So if you are interested in picking this up, I'll definitely have a link in the description. In my opinion, something like this should be in every photographer and videographer's kit, because light is our baby. We have to have light. Light is the most important thing. And so to be able to have this much power in this small of a package, it's wonderful. So appreciate you tuning in. Catch you on the next one.